A ranch that once felt like home is about to become a place of hard choices, buried secrets, and a future no one is fully ready for. Because in Heartland Season 20, nothing stays the same for long, and every decision comes with a price that can change everything. Something has changed at Heartland, and everyone can feel it even if no one is saying it out loud. The land still looks the same, the horses still run across the fields, and the mountains still stand quietly in the distance, but there is a strange silence under everything now. It is the kind of silence that comes right before a storm, when the air feels heavy and every small moment starts to matter more than it should. Amy is at the center of it all, but this time she is not just the woman who heals horses. She is a mother, a partner, and someone standing at a very difficult point in her life. Nathan's proposal has changed everything, even if it looked simple on the surface. There were no grand speeches, no perfect setting, just a truth that came out too fast to hide. He wants a future with her, not just her, but Lindy too. And that is where the real weight of this story begins. Because love is not the problem. The problem is everything that surrounds it. Amy sits alone many times now, thinking about what yes would really mean. It is not just a word, it is a direction. A yes would mean change, distance, and leaving behind a life she has built piece by piece with her family. Heartland is not just a place for her. It is her history, her healing, her identity. Every corner of that ranch carries a memory. Some painful, some beautiful, but all of them real. And then there is Lindy. Lindy does not speak much about it, but children understand more than adults think. She feels the tension in small ways. The conversations that stop when she enters the room, the long pauses between decisions, the way Amy sometimes looks far away even when she is standing right in front of her. For Lindy, Heartland is not just home, it is safety. It is the rhythm of her life. Changing that is not something she can understand easily. Nathan, on the other hand, believes in building something new. Salt Spring Island represents peace for him, a fresh start, a place where he can leave behind guilt, pressure, and the constant weight of his past. He is not asking Amy to run away. He is asking her to move forward with him. But forward does not feel the same for both of them. And that difference starts to grow quietly between them. At Heartland, Jack notices it first. He does not ask direct questions because Jack has learned that people don't always answer what they are feeling. Instead, he watches. He sees Amy lost in thought more often. He sees the hesitation in her voice when Nathan's name comes up. He also sees something else, something he has seen before in different forms over the years. Change that is coming, whether they are ready or not. Lou feels it too, but she reacts differently. She tries to hold everything together, to keep the ranch stable, to make sure business continues, to make sure nothing falls apart while everyone else is distracted by emotion. But even she cannot ignore that Heartland feels slightly off balance, like it is standing on the edge of a decision that has not been made yet. Then there is Nathan himself, trying to stay patient but struggling with uncertainty. He thought proposing would bring clarity. Instead, it opened a door to more questions. He begins to realize that loving someone who already has a full life is not simple. It is not just about asking them to come with you. It is about asking them to let go of everything they have ever known. And that is where tension quietly builds. Small moments start to mean more than big ones. A conversation that ends too quickly. A look that lasts a second too long. A phone call that is not returned right away. Nothing dramatic happens, but everything feels like it is building towards something inevitable. At the same time, life at the ranch does not stop. Horses still need care. Clients still arrive with problems. Work still demands attention, but even the animals seem to react differently, as if they can sense the emotional weight their humans are carrying. Amy notices it during training sessions, horses becoming more sensitive, more reactive, almost mirroring the instability around them. It makes her question something deeper. If she cannot find balance in her own life, how can she bring balance to anything else? Away from the main conflict, other threads begin to quietly shift. Katie is not the same person she was before. There is a new tension in her life, one she does not fully understand yet. Dex's presence has started to create feelings she cannot easily explain, especially when River is around. It is not a clear love triangle yet, but it is something forming underneath the surface, something that could easily turn complicated if pushed in the wrong direction. And River, unaware of what is building, continues to stand close as a best friend, trusting everything is normal. But at Heartland, normal rarely lasts. One evening, as the sun sets over the ranch, Amy stands outside alone. Nathan's words echo in her mind, but so do Lindy's quiet needs, and Jack's unspoken concerns, and the memory of everything she has built here. For a moment, she closes her eyes, and it feels like the entire weight of the future is resting on one simple decision that she is not ready to make yet. And that is the truth of this new season. Nothing is urgent, but everything is important. Nothing has broken yet, but everything is close. And somewhere in that quiet space between love and responsibility, Heartland Season 20 begins its most emotional chapter yet. The longer Amy waits, the heavier the silence becomes. It is strange how decisions that are not made still manage to change everything. No words have been spoken yet, no final answer has been given to Nathan, but the space between them already feels different. It is no longer just uncertainty, it is pressure. The kind that builds slowly, quietly, until even simple conversations start to feel like they are carrying hidden meaning. Nathan tries to stay patient, but patience is not the same as peace. He tells himself that Amy needs time, that this is a big step, that it is normal to hesitate. But deep down, he starts to notice the distance in ways he does not fully admit out loud. Amy is still present, still kind, still connected to him in moments, but something about her attention is divided now. It is as if part of her is always somewhere else, and that somewhere else is Heartland, not just the place, but everything tied to it. The family, the memories, the life she built long before Nathan ever arrived. Amy, on her side, is not running away from him. That is not the issue. The problem is that she is standing in the middle of two futures, and both feel real in different ways. One future is unfamiliar, but full of possibility, a quiet life on Salt Spring Island where she could rebuild something new. The other is deeply rooted, messy, emotional, and completely tied to everything she has ever known. Neither future feels wrong. That is what makes it harder. At Heartland, Jack begins to see the strain more clearly. He does not interfere directly, but he understands something that others might miss. He has seen people try to rebuild their lives before, seen them leave and return, seen them choose love and lose something else in the process. So when he watches Amy now, he does not judge her choices. He simply understands that whatever comes next will not be simple. Lou, however, is more direct. She senses instability in Amy's decisions, even if Amy does not say anything openly. For Lou, the ranch represents responsibility, structure, survival. She worries that emotional decisions could disrupt everything they have worked so hard to maintain. But at the same time, she also knows Amy is not someone who makes choices lightly. If Amy is hesitating, it is because both paths matter equally. And that balance is dangerous. Because when two equally important things pull in opposite directions, something eventually has to give. Nathan reaches a point where silence becomes harder than truth. He does not pressure Amy, but he finally asks the question that has been hanging between them for too long without being spoken. Not an ultimatum, not a demand, just honesty. He wants to know where she stands, even if the answer is uncertain. But Amy does not have a clean answer to give. She tries to explain what she feels, but emotions do not organize themselves neatly into sentences. She talks about Lindy, about Heartland, about responsibility, about fear of change, about love that does not disappear just because another love exists. And the more she speaks, the more it becomes clear that this is not about choosing one person over another. It is about choosing one life over another. Nathan listens, and for the first time, he fully understands the weight of what he is asking her to do. He is not just asking her to come with him. He is asking her to step out of her entire world. And that realization changes something in him. Meanwhile, Lindy begins to react in subtle ways that Amy cannot ignore. Children do not always express confusion directly. Instead, it shows up in behavior, in small emotional shifts, in the way they cling a little more tightly to what feels familiar. Lindy starts asking more questions about routines, about school, about where she will be staying in the future, even if she does not fully understand why she is asking them. Amy notices, and it unsettles her more than anything Nathan says, because it confirms what she already knows, but does not want to face fully. This decision is not hers alone. Back at the ranch, the rhythm of daily life continues, but even the smallest disruptions feel amplified now. A minor disagreement between workers feels bigger than it is. A delayed plan feels like a sign of instability. Even the weather seems to match the emotional tone, uncertain, shifting, unpredictable. Jack spends more time alone than usual, not because he is withdrawing, but because he is thinking. He understands that families evolve, that life does not stay frozen in place. But he also knows that every change comes with loss, even when it leads to something better. And what he sees now is a family standing at the edge of a transition they may not all move through together. Lou tries to take control of what she can. She organizes, plans, adjusts schedules, focuses on the practical side of everything. But even she cannot fully ignore the emotional current running through the ranch. It is not chaos yet, but it is no longer calm either. And then there is a moment. Small, almost forgettable on the surface, but it changes everything underneath. A simple interaction between Amy and Nathan that is meant to be normal, but carries a weight neither of them can hide anymore. There is affection, there is understanding, but there is also hesitation. The kind that does not come from lack of love, but from too much at stake. After that moment, nothing feels the same. Nathan begins to reconsider not just the future, but the way he is approaching it. He starts to wonder if love is enough to ask someone to leave everything behind. Amy starts to wonder if staying in place means giving up the possibility of growth. Both of them are asking the same question in different ways, but neither of them has an answer yet. And while all of this unfolds quietly, something else begins to shift in the background. Katie's world is starting to change in ways she does not fully recognize yet. Dex's presence becomes more noticeable in her thoughts, even when she tries to ignore it. River remains close, unaware of the emotional shift happening just beneath the surface. It is not a conflict yet, but it is a line that is slowly becoming harder to see clearly. At the end of it all, Amy finds herself alone again, standing in a familiar place that suddenly feels unfamiliar. The ranch is still the same, the land still steady, but her place within it feels uncertain for the first time in a long time. And somewhere between love, loyalty, and fear of loss, she begins to realize something important. No matter what she chooses, something will change forever. And Season 20 is only just beginning to reveal how far those changes will go. Nothing explodes in Heartland, but everything starts to fracture. That is how this stage of the story feels. Not loud, not dramatic in the way people expect, but quiet enough that the cracks go unnoticed at first. Then slowly, those cracks begin to spread into everything. Amy's silence is no longer just hesitation. It is becoming a decision that has not been spoken yet, but is already shaping the people around her. Nathan feels it first in the smallest ways. The pauses in conversation that used to feel natural now feel heavier. The way Amy looks at him sometimes, not with doubt, but with distance. Not emotional distance exactly, but something more complicated, like she is trying to hold on to him while also holding on to everything else at the same time. And Nathan realizes something he did not fully understand before. He is not just asking Amy to choose him. He is asking her to change the structure of her entire life. That realization does not make him angry. It makes him thoughtful. And that is more dangerous in its own way because it changes how he moves forward. He stops pushing for answers. He starts observing instead. Amy, meanwhile, is not avoiding truth. She is trapped inside it. Every direction she looks leads to something important she cannot ignore. Nathan represents a future that feels calm, stable, and emotionally honest in a way she has never had before. But Heartland represents everything she has built with struggle, loss, healing, and time. It is not just a place she lives. It is a place she survived through. And leaving it does not feel like moving on. It feels like letting go of part of herself. At the ranch, Jack becomes more reflective than usual. He does not give advice immediately, which is rare for him. Instead, he watches how everyone is reacting to the same situation in completely different ways. He understands Amy's conflict better than she thinks, but he also understands Nathan's position more than Amy realizes. Jack has lived long enough to know that love is never the hardest part. It is what love demands that creates the real struggle. Lou, on the other hand, begins to shift into a protective mindset. Not emotional protection, but structural protection. She starts thinking about what would happen if Amy actually left, how the ranch would function, what changes would be needed, what stability would look like without her constant presence. She does not say it out loud, but her mind is already preparing for possibilities she does not want to become real. And that is where tension quietly builds inside the family. Because preparation for loss sometimes feels like acceptance of it. Amy starts spending more time with Lindy, and those moments become more meaningful than before. Not because anything dramatic happens, but because Amy is now aware of time in a different way. Every ordinary moment feels like it might become a memory she will look back on with a different life behind her. Lindy, innocent in the middle of all this, begins to sense emotional shifts she cannot explain. She becomes more attached to routines, more sensitive to changes in tone, more observant of conversations she is not fully included in. Children notice energy before they understand words, and Lindy is no different. Amy sees it, and it affects her deeply. Because now the decision is no longer just about her life. It is about how her life changes her daughter's world. Nathan, trying to give space but not disappear, takes a different approach. He starts opening up more about his own past. Not to pressure Amy, but to show her that change is not always destruction. He talks about starting over, about rebuilding, about how life can expand instead of shrink when you make difficult choices. But Amy is not afraid of change. She is afraid of losing stability that someone else depends on. That difference becomes the emotional center of their conflict. And then, something subtle but important begins to shift in Katie's storyline. Dex becomes more present in her thoughts, not as a distraction, but as a confusion she cannot fully define. It is not love yet. It is not even certainty. It is curiosity mixed with emotional tension. And River, still unaware of what is forming beneath the surface, continues to act like everything is normal. But normal is slowly becoming the least accurate word for anything happening in their world. One evening brings a moment that feels ordinary on the outside, but changes the internal direction of the story. A conversation that should be simple turns into something layered. Words are not wrong, but they are not complete either. What is said matters, but what is left unsaid matters more. Afterward, both Amy and Nathan walk away with the same realization in different forms. They are not moving toward a clear ending. They are moving toward a decision that will reshape everything. Back at Heartland, Jack stands alone for a moment longer than usual, looking out at the land that has seen generations come and go. He understands something that no one else wants to fully admit yet. Some decisions do not just change relationships, they change the identity of the place itself. Lou senses it too, even if she refuses to fully accept it. The ranch is stable, but emotionally it is not grounded anymore. Everyone is reacting to something that has not happened yet, and that anticipation is becoming its own kind of pressure. Amy, at the center of it all, finally reaches a point where silence is no longer sustainable. Not because she has decided, but because avoiding the decision is now affecting everything around her. And that is where Season 20 begins to deepen its emotional conflict. Not with answers, but with the cost of not having them. At this point, Heartland no longer feels like it is waiting for a decision. It feels like it is living inside one. Every character, every relationship, every quiet moment has started to orbit around something unspoken but unavoidable. The future is no longer a distant idea. It is pressing into the present, shaping conversations before they even begin. Amy feels it the most, because she is no longer only thinking about what she wants. She is thinking about what happens after she chooses. That is the part no one prepares you for. Not the decision itself, but the aftermath. The way life reorganizes itself around your answer. The way people adjust, slowly or suddenly, depending on what is lost or gained.